So the climbers are diligent about it. You can't really see a lot of chalk marks, but like that's a section right there. You see those white, all the white?
Yeah.
That's chalk marks from
I got
climbing.
you, Steven.
That's a traverse. Yeah.
And you have good light.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah.
So basically what happened with the Hot 26 was, so there's an interesting karma story about Bikram. And, you know, if you look at the whole history, so for years and years, Bikram came out here from India, had this set called the Bikram set, and it was known as 26, the 26, or the Bikram 26. And that's what you're looking up on when you look at that sheet that that I gave you guys. It's basically 26 poses in a row, starting with these like fundamental asanas, right? These like super basic. You know, it's got like the standing head to knee, the tree pose. See, it's all falling over there. Don't worry, it's coming down from the hill. It's not. Like where we are is like totally different, but you're fine. I think that might be a bird.
Ah, you're too
I think it's a bird. Yeah.
Sounds like a bird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that looked like a bat. That one that just flew off.
Bats make a similar noise.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Could be a bat. I mean, it's called the Bat
I
Cave.
used to have a bat that lived in my apartment, and for the longest time I thought it was a bird. And it turned
So-
out
Oh,
to be
this
a
is what
bat.
they teach at Hot Yoga.
So this is the Hot 26. So it's Bikram's Hot 26, right? The one that you have on the sheet.
wondering what that 26 meant.
So what it is 26 poses.
Yeah.
I added in the one that's black. That's just like a black silhouette. You see the one that's me doing both of those. So I did a silhouette because there's a picture of me and I'm like sort of smiling. I'm like lifting over. So I made it a silhouette. So that's one of the poses I added in because this is called Earth's Hot 26 because Bikram would sue you if you taught his sequence at one point. Like he got so crazy with it that he started suing people. And like I would get phone calls every now and then like, hi, yeah, I'm looking for Bikram style, like hot yoga. And we would be like, well, we don't teach Bikram. We teach, a hot yoga. Well, we didn't even teach the Hot 26 at that time. We just taught hot vinyasa yoga.
Okay.
And they would say like, no, you don't have Bikram there? We're like, no, there's no Bikram here. And they'd be like, well, we're looking for it. So do you have like the Bikram 26? And we'd be like, no, we don't offer Bikram. We're not associated with him. We're not affiliated. Anyway, what we found out was about every 3 months we'd get a call from like an attorney's office trying to find out whether we were using Bikram's name.
That's where they keep questioning you.
Yeah, like they would try
They trick
different
you.
ways, like almost like
That's awful.
do you have the Bikram 26 or the hot Bikram set? And we'd be like, no, we don't call it that either. So anyway, as time went on, turned out that he couldn't.
There's nothing you can do.
He sued a bunch of his people, so he trained a bunch of people, but then said, okay, you need a license to use my name. So then he was making them pay, which whatever, I mean, that's kind of from a business franchise perspective, that's a little bit different because it's using his name. If you wanted to use his name, you had to pay him a fee. That was the rule that he got. And I think that was enforceable, but he tried to trademark the sequence of yoga. And the judges threw it out. They were like, no, you cannot. Even at one point when he was about to win it, the judges said, well, even if they put in one other pose, like a boat pose in between, that's no longer the set. You wouldn't be able to sue over that.
So that's what you have.
So that's not why I did it, because I wanted abs, but it also would have protected me from a lawsuit from him. So I did put in an extra pose. But I changed it a little bit anyway, just to change it a little bit. But what's important for you to know is that it is this sequence. It's, the standing, breathing. It started with these breathing exercises. You would do 10 breathing exercises. Then you would do like the standing side stretches. What I call Chandrasana, people call it different things. But where you're standing and you're doing the standing side stretches, right? Which we did in class. We've done it before, the standing moon poses. And then you do like a fierce pose variation, standing head to knee. King Dancer, right? The famous standing pose. These are all poses. Bikram did not own any of these poses, but these are all just standard poses. What we call Warrior 3, but they clasp the fingertips. Then standing Padottanasana, where you're like head to foot, standing, legs out. Prasarita Padottanasana variations. Side angle, what we call side angle, he just called Warrior. So his Warrior pose, he called Hot Triangle. That's what he called it. But our triangle is different. Our triangle, your legs are in a triangle versus hot triangle is the second line down where she's in a what we would call side angle. Right. They call it Trikonasana.
Oh,
which
we
means
call that
triangle.
side angle.
We call it side angle. Exactly. Standing for head to knee, we call pyramid. Oh wait, no, this one they call it Dandaya. It's like Dandayamana Vibhak Ektapada Janushirshasana. So whatever, it's a totally different name. Anyway, then Tadasana, which we often call tree, but he calls it Tadasana. Do you see how it's different? The names are totally different. Isn't that interesting? And then Parangustasana, which is big toe pose. And then boat is one that I threw in there just because I wanted to change it a little bit and make it a different set. And plus, I think boat gets abs, and this set didn't have abs in it at all, so it was missing.
So yeah, a lot of it's different, right? Because this one says Ardha Chandrasana.
Totally different, right?
And ours isn't
Ours
Ardha
is that
the
balancing
half
one,
moon.
standing balancing half
Yeah.
moon.
A lot of things are different.
Very different because it's from a different part of. It's kind of like dialects. It's different dialects. Like in India, you have different dialects, so it's the same thing. It's different. It's huge. So like what we might call, for instance, let's say in England, it's the same language, right? But in England, the trunk of the car is the boot, right? It's called the boot, right? Or a baby buggy is called a pram in England. So it's the same thing. It's a different location, gives it a different name, same language. So that's where you get these differences, which is partially why I wanted to show you this set, actually. I just want to show you this so you get to see. Shavasana is the same, for whatever reason. Shavasana, which means corpse pose. I guess death is universal. I don't know, but that's probably why.
Is it the same direction, or is it like Bikram? Bikram makes you turn around and lay down.
They do this thing where they flip around. Yeah, they flip around in different directions. But Shavasana is the same name.
Okay.
So
So you can use this name now. You're saying though, the Hot 26.
you can use Hot 26. I just called it. First of all, I wasn't a huge fan of Bikram
Okay.
personally. I just did his class, and I couldn't practice with that man.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just could not. I don't want to say why.
I'll
just
tell
Well, I
could
mean,
not be
I had
that.
remember I took
So-
my Bikram class. I didn't like the teacher, and I never went back. You remember?
Right,
I don't
so
know.
then-
I don't think
there
that was
you
him,
go.
but it's still. I was pushed away, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, it was literally like the opposite of a magnet.
It's the
You know what I mean?
Nazi of yoga practice.
So I changed it anyway with both, mainly because I felt like it needed abs, and plus I just called mine Earth's Hot 26 because I was like, nothing you could say about that. It's a totally different name, and I would even say like we are not associated with Bikram because like I never
what-
wanted to be associated.
Yeah.
Do you still offer this, or was this an initial offering? Because I started.
I
taking
did
this at
offer
this
it a little
studio.
bit. Yeah, I offered
Yeah,
it.
for
It
a
didn't
while.
do, oddly enough, the Hot 26,
Doesn't it?
his
Because it's
set does
on the
not
schedule anymore.
do well in my studio at all. My students
Yeah.
did not want to practice it.
I mean,
I don't know
looking at
why.
it, I mean, I would prefer
It
your
happened.
flow.
It happened also right around his sex scandal.
Oh, wow.
He had like a major,
Multiple.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll talk about it in a minute. Pavanamuktasana. Then they do a sit up. Then you go into Bhujangasana. And again, there isn't this flow where you go like, it's not all dancey. It's like you go like, okay, now hold this pose. You breathe and you hold it, and then you switch. Okay, and like I'll give you a taste of it. We'll do a little bit of it, but not much. But I just wanted you to know because like if somebody comes to you and says, do you teach the Hot 26 or the Bikram method? You'd be like, the answer is no, and like you would know what it is at least. You know, because there are a lot of places they don't really cover enough styles, in my opinion. So I wanted to give you some other variants. Plus, just because I don't like it doesn't mean you won't like it. You know, maybe you will like it, right? And it doesn't mean it's not valid. It's still a valid set. It's just that every time I do that set, I hear Bikram in the background saying crazy stuff. So I was like, that's why. Like I feel like I have him on my back, like whipping me or something.
Is
Like,
the
get your
Hot
leg up. you know?
26 sequencing similar to that of Bikram? That
Yeah.
you hold the first pose for.
No, what I did, I simplified it. What I did was I I did all of the standing poses twice and the ending seated poses once.
Okay.
That's all I did.
Okay.
So I just did it like that. And it was like count to 10. I just kept it
Instead
super
of doing
basic.
it, you do it like a minute and then you do it for 30 seconds. Was like
Right,
the
they did some other
sequencing,
way.
yeah.
I think it was the other way around. They did it for 30 seconds
Oh,
and then a minute.
longer hold?
Right.
Okay.
I didn't do that. It was like count to 10, switch, count to 10. Switch,
Okay.
count to 10, switch, count to 10. Like that was kind of the way I did it because that sequence just didn't, it's a very old-fashioned sequence. I could see why it didn't do well put up against power yoga. It just doesn't have the flow. It doesn't have the, I don't know, like
Flow.
it's just missing stuff. Like it just
The dance.
didn't have abs, it was very static, it was very, no switch. Like even the transition was, like you would go, okay, now turn around, lay on your back. Okay, now turn around again and lay on your belly. Anyway, my students didn't like it. I wasn't crazy about it. No one went. That's just what happened. Which is a bummer
The
because
only benefit I think for Bikram's whole sequencing was the hot room. That you
Perhaps.
were in it for so long and that you were sweating. You thought it was the practice making you sweat, but it was just the heat. And I've
That's-
never been more injured than I have doing yoga than I have in a Bikram
Really?
class.
It's an hour and a half, right?
Yeah,
Hour and a
90
half long.
minutes.
Yeah, hour and a half
I
is.
mean, I don't want to like devalue. Like my conversation for this one is always the same. It's like, look, you guys can try it and see if you like it. It's another style. It's something to know about. And like, I personally didn't like it, but that's my opinion. People like it. Like a lot of people like it. So we should know at least that it exists. I think that the vinyasa flow is better, like as far as a workout goes, because I've done
Sure.
Bikram in a cold room. So when I was in my 20s, I was like, all right, let's put it to the test. So I did it in a cold room, and I like barely broke a sweat.
Yeah.
And then I did vinyasa in like the same cold room, and I didn't sweat it that much as a hot room, but I still sweat it. Like I still worked out.
Was
So I was
your
like,
studio always a hot studio?
it was always like 86 degrees.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 87, 86, 88 degrees, which is still pretty hot.
Yeah.
you
Why
know.
did you decide to open a hot studio instead of just because that's what you learned in India? Or?
When I came back from India, I felt like I really kind of shrunk. Like everything felt tighter when I got back. So I was like, let's make it warmer. Let's make
wow.
it humid. So I felt a little bit of that. And plus, on
So
top
you're
of that,
one
there
of
was...
the original hot studios then.
I'm one of the older warm studios,
Oh,
definitely.
warm,
One of the, because we weren't hot. Like now we're truly hot. Like we were just warm. I would heat it up to like, somewhere between 80. You can't keep it. Anyone that says we make it 105, that's not true. It's like, it's anywhere from 100 to 110 or something. Like there's a lot of leeway in temperature. You just can't. Like I've tried it. I even have like a professional heat sensing device. You just can't. Like even the room. From the front of the room, it's 105, and in the back of the room, it's 103 or something. It's just,
I gotta start going in the front of
it
it.
varies. Yeah, it's hotter in the front because there's two heaters there. But also kind of keep it that way because when I have beginners, I say, you know what? Stay by the door. It's much cooler back there. So I can it's fine that there's a gradient, So going through the set, again, it doesn't have the flow. Like when you go from, let's say, boat or whatever into Shavasana, you lay down. You go and you turn around, you lay down, then you turn around, and then you lay on your belly. You do a sit-up, and then you lay on your stomach, and then you lift one leg. And then you drop your leg down, you lift the other leg. And then you drop your leg down, and then you lift both legs and both arms back. And then you drop down, and you reach and you clasp your feet. Again, like one of the reasons that I think that this sequence did so well over the years is because it's very simple. It's like a really basic set that anyone can learn to teach and anyone can do, pretty much, in a variation of it. Like, could my mom at 80 years old, she would struggle even in this set, but this set is more basic. It doesn't require the vigor that power yoga does, but also isn't as vigorous as power yoga either. Okay? So, but there's a deeper lesson in this too, I think with the whole Bikram thing, is that, number one, he, like many yoga teachers, suffered from the exposure to power. I don't know if any of you have seen Lord of the Rings. Gollum, right? And Gollum and the power of the ring, and the power corrupts him, and he turns into like this green, shriveled up lizard thing.
That's how I felt about that outfit today.
So when some teachers, not all, when some teachers or people get exposed to power, they become corrupted by it, and they become in some way, it consumes them, and they become
A monster.
kind of evil, actually. And so the lesson, although I've never said that I am a student of Bikram's, I have still learned a lot from observing him and seeing there is the wisdom of yoga, and then there's the action of what you do in your life. And for the long term, I remember seeing him and saying, okay, he's potent. He's a bright spark in Hollywood. Why would somebody who's demeaning, degrading to women, abusing them, sexually harassing them, even perhaps, again, he's been accused of assaulting them. Why would someone like that do well in a city like Hollywood? Well, there's a lot of insecurity. And there's a lot of that is like, people, for whatever reason, were drawn to him because he was such an anomaly. Now, why? There are probably a million reasons why. But it doesn't surprise me that people would go to a teacher that would say, like, look how fat you are, look in the mirror, cry. Like, he would say things like that, like, cry. Your parents must own a candy shop. Like, he would say stuff like that in the class.
Call people stupid.
And be like, you're an idiot, and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Well, remember that
What?
not everyone is raised healthfully. And to some people, like, I knew someone who went to him, and I'm like, dude, why are you going to that guy? Like, you know that's all toxic stuff. Like, what is wrong with you? He's like, I need to hear it. And he would go. And I'd be like, all right, man, whatever. Okay, that's fine. I guess.
Did he call people fat and stuff like that?
Just like I said, like literally like that. Your poses are good, but does your parents own a candy shop? Look at your fat jalopy you brought in here. Things like that.
Oh my god.
Like that. I mean, look, I'm recording this. I can't quote somebody and say it. I know he said stuff like that because it was witnessed by thousands of people.
Yeah.
Just like that.
And
So-
he trained his other instructors to kind
So,
of have
but
that.
here's the thing. It worked for a while. But in the end, I remember when I left his class, I was like, I will never go back to him. And I am surprised that he's lasted this long, but he will burn. Something's going to snap. Something's going to break in his system. Like, I just knew. When I left, I was like, at some point, you can't get away with that stuff forever.
Shaming
You know what I
people?
mean? Like, to that level. But it was even, like, racist and, like, gnarly. Like, like a, I don't know how to explain it, but just so, it was so potently just, I don't know how to explain it. I mean, it's just like that. So just because someone is like that first of all, it doesn't make it okay. Doesn't mean that I condone it, I don't support it. Obviously, people did support him and pay for his classes, and it obviously served some kind of a function. But in the end, he had multiple lawsuits against him for harassment, for I think even like racial, because like there was a woman who was African American who did his teacher training, and he called her all these crazy names and stuff. So he got sued. He got almost put in jail. He got basically ended up having to leave. He ended up having to leave the country because like he fled in the end. So yeah, it'll work for a while, but eventually it'll catch up to you.
And a lot
when
of
you do
his
that stuff.
studios, correct me if I'm wrong, were franchises.
Right, they were franchises. He
So
rented the name.
Yeah, and then
Right.
because of his legal battles, like I remember when I was living in Santa Barbara when one of the first like lawsuits like hit, and I read about it, like that whole New York Times article like exposing him, or was it Vanity Fair? But I was like, I'm never going to this studio. I'm not paying for someone to be rich and like sexually harass and molest women.
Right. Well. Here's the what we need to learn from it, I think, as teachers, is to observe it and take the lessons from it. You don't own yoga. Don't sue people over your sequencing because it's not wise. It's yoga.
I know, it's
If
so
they want to
weird.
teach it, they can teach it. you can't own this practice like that. You can't. Now, if you want to trademark your name, like if you want to make it, Elizabeth's Fire Yoga of South Beach, Florida, or something, you could do that. You could trademark a name.
Or like your name. You
A
could
name.
trademark your
Right.
It's Power
You
Yoga.
could trademark a name. Now, whether you want to go suing everybody, I had somebody steal my logo, my exact logo with the 3 bars, and use it in a yoga studio in Hollywood. And I even went and spoke to her. I was like, you're using my logo, right? You know that, right? She's like, oh yeah, you're the one that has my logo. And I'm like, ma'am, you just opened up here.
I've been around long.
I've been here since 1993. So like, you're new. No, that logo is being used. But you know what? I didn't even sue her. I was just like, I met her and I talked with her. I was like, you know what? She's going to crash and burn. I just knew like she's not going to last because of the way she talked about yoga. Like I felt like she didn't have the respect or something for yoga. I just felt like, you know what? I'm not even going to sue her. I'm just going to like watch. It's not going to last. And sure enough, it went out as well. So simplicity is great. I think that Bikram, part of his success was because it's like you have this simple set, super easy to spread, right? Versus like power yoga is a little more intricate. It's a little more, there's more involved. It's more to learn. So really basic, really simple, but still pretty vigorous. A 90-minute set in the heat was pretty vigorous. Like that was still kind of a hard sequence to do. I don't know if you've done the 90-minute ones. You've done Hot 26. Have you done it? Have you guys done it? No. Okay.
It
So-
definitely
Is it
was the
26,
longest
22?
90 minutes of my, like, the
Of your
last
life?
30 minutes were tough. Yeah, I mean, it was
Yeah.
hot too, I remember. It was intense. I
It's
remember
really
the
intense.
studio
It's
I went
almost
to.
like a torture chamber. Like it's so intense.
It was
And like
a lot.
if you had been to
And Hot 8?
Yeah, the
Maybe
26.
22.
Yeah.
yeah,
Is
that's
that the name
okay,
of it?
26, 22.
Yeah,
that's
they have a different
a
name.
derivative of it. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, where you do the standing head to knee. It's a very
Yeah.
specific sequence. Anyway, so that's the set. We can do some of it. Why don't we just explore just a little bit of it, just so you get an idea of how it moves, how it flows. Okay, you guys ready? You can do it. We'll just do some of the standing sequence, so you won't even really need the thing. Let's
Do you want me to
pause the
pause?
camera because we don't. Yeah,
Oops.
you could watch it. You can do the whole thing on YouTube if you want, because you just type in like hot 20.